Hello. Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us on the call. Um, I am Maz. I'm part of Outtake and I'm gonna dive into it straight away. So if you need me to slow down, please do let me know. This is my first press junket.
Oh, guess what? It's mine too.
Oh, great. We can do it
We're in
together.
good hands.
So I would like to welcome you as part of Outtake. We are a show where we like to discuss the outlandish takes within the film and TV world, and more importantly, like to champion independent films and kind of give a place where people can find out about films that they might have otherwise missed out on. I'm your girl Maz, and it is my pleasure to introduce Sarah Galea-Davis, a Canadian award-winning writer and director whose work perfectly blends between fiction and documentary genre. And your fiction credits include Berlin, Can You Wave Bye Bye, and An Apartment. Today, we're going to be celebrating the coming of age film, The Players, which is having its international world premiere at the Glasgow Film Festival on the 6th of March. So, thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us today.
Thank you. That's a great introduction.
Thank you. I really tried on that one. So the Players really follows a 15-year-old named Emily as she joins an avant-garde theatre group during her summer break in the 90s. There are so many key moments within the player that really stood out for me. So there was the dress scene where we get to have a conversation about consent. And it made me really realize that it was a period piece because it was like you were seeing all the other characters kind of shocked that they're having this really intense conversation about consent. Um, and I was just kind of curious when writing this part, the script, is there a part that particularly stood out for you? And did this change in the process of filming?
Hmm. Yeah, so I think for me in writing it, I got my start in the arts, being a teenage actor in theater. So some of this was, based on the experiences that I had or witnessed in my time as a performer. But the things that I guess stood out for me or were particularly important as I was writing the script was, there's a turning point, which I'm not going to give away in this interview, but it's the way that different women react and talk to Emily about what has happened to her. And that was really important. And I think you kind of, and also really distinguishes it as a period piece because the thinking around consent and the actor-director relationship obviously has changed a lot, and they all are sort of teaching her what that means and how she now needs to act. And that and I get pointed out that those scenes are often like quite revelatory when watching the film.
I
I don't know
mean,
if you.
I really resonated with that myself because growing up, I was a theatre kid and I was getting the whole, it was almost like going back in time and learning about our toad and having to incorporate all these techniques. But this is very personal to you, as you've just highlighted. How was it trying to harbor a safe space for yourself as you revisited these experiences?
Oh, that's interesting. The writing process, I pulled a lot from yeah, my own experience, but also my friends, their experiences in theater school. I also researched cults a lot, and pulled from a lot of cult narratives. So it was a real blending, I guess. And there is something about writing that is quite cathartic. And then when you put that out into the world, it becomes separate from you, and you hand it over to other people, and they bring in their own personal takes on it, and it becomes something else. And that is a very beautiful part of the process. And so when you're talking about creating a safe space, my main concern was creating a safe space for my actors on set and making sure that I worked differently than the way I had been worked with or had worked when I was young.
Yeah, which I think is very important. And now we're in this Me Too world, especially in the creative space, um, what's something you would want the audience to kind of carry with them now leaving the cinema after watching the players?
Oh, as a director, I don't like to be too prescriptive, and I'm not a fan of films that, hammer their message home as to, you should feel this way. So I am hoping that this sparks conversation. I am hoping that it causes people to reflect maybe on some of their own experiences and possibly some of their own biases. And, a lot of this story too is about, group complicity and enablement. And I think we've probably, most of us, been on both sides of this story. And to see in the ways that, maybe we could have stood up for people and we didn't, and how we can all do better.
And I think what really connected with me, I think, is while it has such a heavy tone, um,
Mm.
the film really kind of puts you in this position of seeing this innocent playfulness from the beginning, and it's almost revived once back again at the end, but with a slightly change to it. How was it for you to go through that emotional journey, both writing and directing?
Yeah, I mean, it's it was a hard tone to strike because you want to feel like Emily is going to be okay and she is going to, uh, you know, go on and continue and not be crushed by this experience. And yet, obviously, I think of this as the moment that she has lost her childhood, right? Like this experience has taken her um, away from her peers in a lot of ways, and it will be hard for her to go back. Um, but she does find her way back to her best friend and probably a more appropriate place for her to be at this age. And but I think she's got a long journey in terms of still figuring things out and processing what she's been through.
Which I think is really interesting because she does go back to her best friend and has this kind of almost weird, estranged relationship. And I think what we see with a lot of the matriarchs in the film is this like strange mirrored characteristics between Emily, her mother, and Marley. How was that to kind of write these complex layered relationships and then also bring them back onto screen and really make them alive?
Yeah, it was difficult to, it was very important to differentiate the women in the theater company and their various, they're of a generation. And so I think they're of a certain belief system that they are imparting onto Emily. And I think that's very important. A lot of this is about um, because it's about enablement, it that comes from your peers, a lot of it. Like the normalization is not just, coming from the top down, it's coming from, you're learning that from the people around you. And they're each imparting a different piece of that lesson. And I hope you walk away with the sense um, that Emily is going to be different, that this experience has taught her something that, the next generation will do a bit better than, say, her mother's generation did. And that's something that really resonated for all of the actors on set. We had a lot of conversations about the script and about the scenes, and some of these, it really resonated for a lot of the performers who have gone through theater school and a lot of professional experiences. So, it's always great because actors bring something of themselves and their own experiences, and again, like change it and bring a new layer to things.
I mean, that just links me back into the next idea with how were you able to make sure that this was such a collaborative experience because it really shows on screen.
Hmm. Yeah, I think casting is so important. We spent so long casting. And once you have really great actors that you really trust and you have a good dialogue with, then you get to play on set. I mean, we didn't have a lot of time to make this film, so in some ways you go in with a plan and you have to just like run and execute. But I did leave space for, takes where the actors got to try their own thing. And the other thing too is, we had a little bit of rehearsal, which is rare for film.
Mhm.
Um, but we would also, we'd have coffee and we'd talk and, had conversations about things which, could then get incorporated into a scene in advance so that when we were there on the day, we were like,
Like,
it
oh
had,
my gosh,
it had
this is
been
so
digested
intense because
together.
it's such a compelling storyline. And it's just kind of curious, anyway, from me, what was the process of filming and how long was it? Because
We had a month, 20 days, which is
a
really
month,
short. Yeah, which, for a film of this budget size is actually pretty good, but it's really short to make a film in 20 days. We had a lot of scenes that ended up on the cutting room floor, which a lot of locations, characters, all sorts of things. So sorry, what was your question again about
like,
filming?
oh, it was more just about how long it was, and to hear that it was just a month, but being able to see these really well established relationships on screen, I think is something completely amazing because it has such a journey to it.
Yeah, thank you. Um, One thing that was helpful is that a lot of the actors in the theater company knew each other already. They had gone to theater school together, they had worked together before, and so there was this kind of immediate camaraderie on set from the moment that they arrived, which was really helpful in creating that. I wanted the theater company to feel like a compelling place to be, to have a draw for the audience as well as for Emily, so that you could understand why she wants to be there. And it was fortunate that that was kind of built in already in our casting. And I shot this film. My cinematographer is my best friend. We went to university together. We've made other films together, and she's super experienced. And so we had a great. We've been watching films together since the 90s, so we also had like an established visual language and shorthand with each other that I think creates, when you have that camaraderie established and you're relaxed on set, it kind of allows everyone else to relax and feel confident in their director and feel like you're being led somewhere and you feel good about it.
Yeah, well, I know that we're really short on time, and you probably have loads to do today. But thank you so much for joining us, Sarah, once again. Really excited for the rest of Glasgow to be able to watch your international world premiere at the film festival on the 6th of March. I think I feel like I'm repeating myself, but yeah, it's an incredibly beautiful story, and I think it's very powerful to have at this particular point in history.
Thank you so much. Will you be in
Thank
Glasgow?
you. I plan to be, but not on the day, sadly. Yeah. It's
Right.
it's actually it's more expensive to be in Glasgow around that time than to fly off and be somewhere else because I'm from London.
Oh, you are. I
Yeah,
love London.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a lovely day. I really appreciate you being able to join the call.
Thanks for the interview.
All right.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.